Start. The prices of essential commodities are very high and life for everyone is very hard. We live therefore under threats of strikes which if they come off are bound to paralyze our development schemes, to say nothing of the inconvenience caused to citizens and the financial loss which the country's exchequer can certainly not support. In view of the steep rise in prices, the Pay Commission is bound to recommend some kind of relief. I personally am glad that a commission has been appointed, because whatever restrictive or penalty legislation is brought in, it can never make for general contentment and well-being, either mental or physical. And without these, there can never be any enthusiasm in the hearts of the workers nor any industry on their part. Now, why has there been such a steep rise in food prices, and why is the government unable to control the same? Production figures, we are told, have not gone down. We have had good harvests last year. Then where has the food gone? Is inflation responsible to a large extent for this debacle? Or are our figures for production wrong, and how much of our food grains have gone underground into the hands of black marketeers? Why cannot government bring these antisocial elements to heel? These are questions which have to be faced squarely. Increase in salaries will cost the exchequer hundreds of crores of rupees. Where is the money to come from in addition to what is needed for the plan? As far as salaries are concerned, the time has come, I think, for government to fix a minimum wage for the worker and to give him relief in the shape of free primary education for 2 of his children, old age pension, free living quarters, fair price shops rather than dearness allowance. I feel the moment anybody's salary is raised, he is inclined to spend more. A socialistic pattern of society means, as I understand it, a society where everyone has food, shelter, clothing, and employment, and equal opportunities for his material, moral, and spiritual development. If the salaries of our workers are fixed at a reasonable minimum and the other relief given to them, I think we shall be fulfilling one of our main objectives, that is an improved standard of life for millions. I have often felt that perhaps we lay too much stress of our big project. Sir, I have just mentioned the antisocial elements that succeed in holding and black marketing our food grains, but if I may be permitted to say so, antisocial elements have penetrated everywhere. Food and drug adulteration are rampant in spite of laws, and likewise one hears on all sides complaints of bribery, corruption, and nepotism. And if we are honest, we shall have to admit that integrity and efficiency are our biggest casualties. This sorry state of affairs has to be put right if we are to progress. Of course, efficiency and integrity go hand in hand, as do their opposite numbers. True patriotism demands today more than at any other time high standard of integrity and efficiency, and in their restoration both the public and the government must make common cause. If the public demands a standard of integrity from the government machinery, it must set standards of behavior for itself too. For the lawbreaker or the bribe giver is just as, if not more, guilty as those whom he tempts. Criticism is always easy to indulge in but is not always helpful. Therefore, I put forward certain concrete suggestions last session for the consideration of the finance minister, which in my humble opinion would provide permanent sources of revenue in addition to, and in some instances to replace, what he is tapping. The reply which the finance minister was pleased to give to the two suggestions regarding the levying of excise duties on liquor and salt was not convincing, if he will pardon my saying so. I for one do not mourn so much over the loss of revenue of government as I do over the dishonesty and prohibition by law brings in its wake. At the same time, why should the money that the government needs so badly go into the pockets of unworthy elements? Sir, man would accept the hardest discipline if he could be convinced of the rights of the measures imposed on him, but man will always question the validity of rules if he does not know their source, because he can only think morally if he is improved from within. The goal to improve man does not consist in making him go through the gestures of morality. If moral rules are arbitrarily imposed, no matter what their practical value is, they will never fight successfully against the inherent weaknesses of human nature. Educate him, persuade him, show him that you care for his welfare, and he will follow you. Bring the heavy hand of the law of the country down on him, and he is bound to try to evade it. Then, sir, I would come to the question of food grains, which is very important. Now, sir, these food grains imports went on, and as you know, 1 million tons of food grains cost us roughly about rupees 50 crores. In the second 5-year plan period, even we envisage 6 million tons of food grains being imported, and you can easily understand how much money it would cost. Every year we are losing so much foreign exchange because the food production does not measure up to the needs of our country. Today, sir, one should have thought that the government should make much more vigorous efforts to increase the food production, and for this purpose it is absolutely essential to go into the question of land reforms. Unless and until land is distributed among the peasants, especially among the poorer sections of the agricultural laborers and peasants, you can never turn the corner. We have seen now in China, in a matter of few years, there have been able to solve the food problem, and there is no difficulty with regard to foreign exchange there. We should have been a self-sufficient country by 1951 according to the Prime Minister. But we are in the darkness, and there is no knowing as to when India is going to be self-sufficient. Our manpower and other resources are so abundant that it is quite possible by a little reorganization of our agricultural and land relations that we can turn the corner. Here again, sir, we are losing. Therefore, sir, the exchange position has to be viewed from the angle of our entire economy. The crisis today has come about in that way. Then again, sir, our balance of payments position has been deteriorating year after year. It is no use trying to tell that it is not so. It is no use trying to point to a particular year when our balance of payments position had slightly improved. Everyone knows what is our balance of payments position. Therefore, sir, I think that in all spheres the government's policies stand condemned and indicted by the people. Therefore, a very drastic change is necessary in the government's policies. Now, sir, I would like to make a few suggestions. I know the difficulty that is there, but there should not be any panic about it. No quarters should be given to the slogan. Then, sir, with regard to sterling balances, there is another problem. I need not give any figures, but I only submit to the House that I do not think that it is essential to tie the Indian rupee to the sterling, nor do we require any currency reserve of that kind. Mr. V.K.R.V. Rao, the Vice Chancellor of the Delhi University, I am told, has expressed the same view, and since our rupee is fairly stable, since India has a developed economy, since our credit worthiness in the markets of the world is not bad, why must we tie our rupee to the sterling and require this kind of currency reserve? I do not see any need at all for maintaining a sterling reserve. Many countries do not need such reserves and do not keep such reserves even today. Why must we do that? Then, sir, some change is necessary in our exchange banking system so that financing of our foreign trade could be done in a manner which conforms to the Indian interests and helps in augmenting our foreign exchange resources. In that connection, sir, I would particularly stress the need for breaking monopolies in the matter of foreign trade to which I had earlier referred. Today, it is essential for tourism to give proper direction to our trade, to change its pattern and to adjust our trade according to the needs and the requirements of our economy. At the same time, we should try to develop our trade with those countries where such trade remains with the state sector. In the socialist countries, malpractices of all kinds should be checked. Then, sir, remittances of profits abroad should be restricted, if not altogether stopped. Every time that we make this suggestion, we are told that that will frighten away the foreign investor. We do not want for other capitalists from abroad should come and invest money in our country and exploit cheap labor and make profits. All that we want is that loans should be obtained, if possible, at the government to government level so that we can meet the needs of our economy. That is how things should be viewed. Therefore, I say that we can certainly stop these remittances abroad and turn them to the use of the nation for developing our country's economy. After all, economic reconstruction of Egypt is not paralyzed and broken because President Nasser has taken over the Suez Canal. We have the example of Egypt, which by nationalizing the Suez Canal and inflicting a blow upon the British and French interests has assured the rapid development of her economy. Full stop. Over.